All right, everybody. It looks like we are at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm sure there are a few more people will join us as we get going. I have a brief presentation for you guys today, and then we'll get into the actual demonstration. So, first of all, welcome. My name is Spencer. I'm the Chief Product Officer here at Cronometer.com, and yeah, thank you guys for joining me this afternoon. Hopefully, we'll learn something about how to get the most out of the app. So I'm going to go ahead and get through my presentation here. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to have this brief introduction. We're going to do a little bit of housekeeping. I'll just give you guys some information about what you're going to see and what questions we'll answer and all that. And then we're going to do a screen-by-screen demo of all of our gold features. So everywhere you can find them in the app and on the website. And I'm also going to show you a few of the advanced features that you can actually do with a free account, but you may not be aware of them. And so hopefully I'll give you guys some pointers on some things that'll help you just get better prepared for whatever your health and fitness goals are. Oops, just popping up in the chat here in case I miss anything. Yeah, and then as we go, there is a Q&A button on your webinar UI. If you want to use that, open up the queue. Just type in any questions you have as we go, and I will, as we cover each area, I will answer those questions and just kind of keep that up to date. And I try to keep an eye on both the chat and the Q&A, the question and answer queue. Sometimes I don't catch everything that happens there, but we have a fair number of people here today, so it's shouldn't be too bad. So some quick housekeeping here. We're not going to be giving out personalized nutrition advice on this webinar, so if you have questions about that, highly recommend that you check out or you work with a professional, healthcare professional on that. We do have a professional version of Cronometer that healthcare professionals use in their practices, and we have a directory of professionals that use Cronometer. So I can show you how to access that towards the end of the webinar if you guys are interested and you need some personalized advice. Feature requests. I won't deal with any feature requests here on the webinar, but there is going to be a survey at the end of the webinar for you to give us a little feedback. And also there'll be some space to tell us what you'd like to see in the app. And so, if there's anything there, you can let us know. Vote for questions. So yeah, if you see a question you like in the Q&A section, all you have to do is like it. It'll pop up to the top of the queue, and I'll see it and I'll answer it. If you have any follow-up questions, maybe we don't get to everything today, or you think of something after the webinar is over, you can always contact us at support@cronometer.com. We are pretty responsive. We should be able to get back to you within a day or two. And finally, I usually post all the replays of these webinars up to our YouTube channel. I usually get to that by start of the next week. So if you're interested, you can always check that out and catch anything you might have missed. We have old replays there too, which may cover different questions and things like that. So I want to frame our discussion around, why should you use Cronometer to achieve your health and fitness goals? Cronometer has the highest quality, most accurate data of any of the trackers that are out there. And we do this by focusing on over 80 micronutrients that comprise the different nutrition in food. We are able to do this by plugging into databases that are high quality. These are labs that are actually testing the foods and putting out that data. And so we take all these different sources, put them together. We have our own curation team that not only goes through that data, checks it for accuracy, makes sure there's no duplicate entries coming from the various sources, to remove confusion. But we also deal with all our user submissions, and we make sure that all the data that is sent to us by our users, maybe there's a store-bought product that they want us to be able to use. We vet that information, verify it's correct, make sure there's no duplicates in our database, and before publishing anything to the public. So that way you can be sure that the data not only is high quality, but it's accurate, and you can get a lot out of that micronutrition data once it's set up. So and essentially the app is built to the app is built around understanding all that micronutrition information. It is, we've not only built the app around that, but we also have additional data analysis tools, some of which we'll cover today, that help you make sense of that data over time, because it's a lot to process every day. And we have these tools available to you to help hopefully gain insight into how making changes to your diet can affect your health. And because we focus on this foundation of micronutrition, something that's common to any healthy diet, you're going to see that Cronometer is customizable to just about any style of eating. So whether you're vegan, paleo, or keto, or anything in between, you're going to see that Cronometer can work for your program. And finally, we're secure. So at Cronometer, we believe that you guys own your own data. So at any point, you can delete your account, remove all your data from our system, and that's that. We obviously prefer that you don't do that, but if you want to, you can. And we never sell your data to any third parties. We use end-to-end encryption and all the latest security measures. We even introduced a new feature, two-factor authentication. So if you want your account to be more secure, you can turn that on, and it will be so. And so so that's just one of the principles that we live by, and that's another thing that we generally build into the app as we go. So I mentioned we have a professional version as well, and I just want to show you guys some of the larger professional organizations that actually trust our app because of our high quality data and the breadth of data that we supply, all this micronutrition data. These are some of the larger organizations that we work with, and they're using us for things like clinical and academic research, or to even run their hospital nutrition programs with their patients. And so we work with pros of all sizes. These are just some of the larger organizations that we work with. So that's the end of my little presentation here. So save that. So now what we're going to look at is, so on the right we have our web app, and on the left we have our, I'm just going to delete these here. On the left we have our mobile app. So I'm going to start by demoing things on the web app, and then I'll move on to the mobile app, just because the UI is very different there. It may not be so clear as to where to find some of the features that I'm going to show you on each platform. So I'll demo them on both. And again, I'll be answering questions as I go. So to start with, now I'm going to assume some familiarity with the app already. So you guys know about the food log. You know how to log food and how to get some pretty good data out of your food. Looking for the lab tested icon, and you know what all these parts are showing you. You have your different micros and macros that you're tracking. I'm going to assume you know that. So I'm going to jump right into the gold features that we offer on each basically section of the app. So to start, you'll notice in the food log, I have a number of diary groups here that I can use to organize my eating throughout the day. Maybe I have a category for exercise, or maybe some for tracking biomarkers, whatever the case may be. You can build this template into your daily diary so you can follow that accordingly. And the way you would do that is by hopping over to the settings tab here, and we're going to go to display. So we go to the display section, and the first thing you're going to see here, actually the second thing you're going to see here, is the diary group section. And here, I believe when you upgrade to gold, that gets turned on automatically. And we have some default set of categories that you can, that will be enabled for you. So I think it's like breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, maybe. But you can actually come to this area of the app and customize all of this. So I can come in here and I can change the names. I can enable or disable different groups. I have up to 8 customizable groups that I can use. And yeah, so you can build whatever template you want. You can be, a 3 meal a day template, a 5 meal a day template, stuff for exercise, biometrics, or anything else that you want to track. So we jump back to the diary. Another thing you're going to notice in the food log is that all of our, all the data that you can log here, this is exercise, biometrics, your food items, they're going to be time-stamped. So it's a little bit tiny. So let me see if I can zoom in here. You'll notice that I have a whole bunch of different times against each of these items. I can click on this time, and I can edit it here if I want, whatever it might be. Now, when you log a food, or any piece of data. Let's go ahead and do that. You'll see in the bottom right here, we have a time of day. You can edit that by clicking it. It'll just use the current device time when you go to log something. You can disable it if you don't want it to have that the timestamp data on there. And you can also choose which group of your custom groups for it to be logged to when you're logging your food. So that's the timestamp stuff. Now this gets really interesting when you start analyzing your data, because you can start to look at down to the minute how things are changing each day or over longer periods of time. So for example, this account generally tracks blood glucose, which is a very important thing if you're dealing with diabetes or other medical conditions. And you can see, depending on how they log it, you can actually see how things might change when you versus when you eat, versus when you wake up in the morning and that kind of thing. So you can actually get very a good deal of detail out of the items that you log here with our timestamp feature. Right, so then we're going to move on to this section down here under nutrient targets. Is called nutrition scores. I believe this is another feature that gets turned on by or automatically when you upgrade to gold. But what this is it's a series of nutritional scores that tell you how different nutrients are affecting basically an overall bodily function. Because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think, when I think of my diet, I don't necessarily think in terms of the individual micronutrients. Did I get enough vitamin B12 today? Though we can certainly make it easy to see that. But I often think in terms of, am I eating enough to recover from training? Am I eating enough to support my immune system? And so what we've done is we've grouped these nutrients into those functions, and you can now check to see how, at a high level, how your nutrition is throughout the day. So for example, with immune support, you can see our grouping of nutrients that contribute to your immune system. You can see how you're doing on each, and then we'll give you an overall score in terms of how much you are hitting the nutrient targets within that function. So it's a great way to kind of just get a high level view of your nutrition without having to look at every single one of these gauges down here, and knowing what all those mean and stuff. So the other one I'll point out here is so you can customize this view. We're always adding new gauges that you can track. I think we have one coming out for the critical nutrients in a vegan diet, for example. But this one also, we have a one called data quality, which is a great way to just take a look at, kind of correlate the items you're entering down here or up here to how good your data is down here. So basically, if you have a high data quality score, that means you're generally logging those well-tested, food items that have tons of information. And so if your score is pretty high here, that means you can rely on the information that you're seeing in the areas below. It's a basic recipe. How do I change it up? Yeah, no problem, Susie. I can get to that when we get to the recipe section. So then the next one that I want to show you is just down at the very bottom here. We have our nutrient balances. This is another one of our display settings that will be enabled when you upgrade to gold. And basically what it is, it just shows you visually some of these different nutrient ratios that are important to everyday health. So for example, the omega-3 to 6 ratio is probably the most commonly used or well-known. And this will give you an idea of, how that ratio is tracking throughout the day based on, whether or not you've hit your targets. So let's see. Then up top here, you'll notice we have a fasting widget. We do allow you to create fasts and track your fasts in the app. This is a feature I'll show you guys as we go through different parts of the app, because it shows up all over. You can see your fasts running here in the diary on this widget. You can also see your historic fast represented visually in the charts in our charting tab. And then in the fasting tab itself, that's where you can schedule fast and look at your fasting history. So as we get through each screen, I'll show you where all those things show up. Back up to the top here. I want to show you guys the add biometric screen. Now, normally we have a kind of a fixed amount of biometrics you can track, most common being, your weight or maybe your blood glucose, ketones, whatever it is that you want to be tracking. We can cover most of it with what we have. However, if there is something that we do not have that you would want to track every day, you can create a custom biometric. And you can track pretty much anything that you want. So for example, it's often used for things like a pain scale or a symptoms scale. If you have a level of symptoms that you're tracking, maybe 1 to 10, it can track bowel movements, track menstruation, all kinds of different biometrics that you might want, or data that you want to track over time. You can use the custom biometric feature to track. Cool. And then we have the, so all you have to do is enter a name. You can enter a unit. So maybe it's, a blood level or the scale 1 to 10. And then you can enter a value. You can save it to your diary, and then it'll be available on this list at all times. So at the very bottom here, you can see I've added a few randomly named custom biometrics. And then you can chart those. You can see them in the reports. It's a great way to kind of get a real handle on all the data that you have. So our add note is another feature that I want to show you guys. So when you're a Gold user, not only can you add a simple text note, you can also add images to any note on any day. So if there is maybe you want to give yourself an inspirational meme and log it to the diary, or maybe you want to take a picture of your food. You can do all of that by clicking on this little camera icon right here, and then uploading the photo, and it'll be here on that day in the diary for you to look at whenever you want. Let's see. So what else do we have on this? So we have okay, there's a few others that I want to show you. Okay, clear all. So another feature that you can that you have access to as a Gold user, these are just a few quality of life features that we give you. So you can select an item by clicking on it in the diary, and you can select multiple items by holding down Shift and clicking in the diary, all the items that you want. Or you can always click a group and to select all those items. So if I were to highlight a few of these items here, I can actually right-click on these items. I'm going to have an option called Create Recipe from Selected Items. Now, this is a gold-only feature that allows you to quickly group a recipe or quickly create a recipe out of items you've already logged to your diary. So this is great if you had a really nice breakfast or just a really good day of eating that you want to basically copy and save in your recipes, but you don't necessarily want to go and create the whole recipe from scratch. So you can highlight the items you want here, create the recipe, and I'll just show you what that looks like. We just hop over to the recipe editor here, and you can you can see the ingredients that I had selected are added to the recipe in the amounts that were listed on the diary. So let me jump back here to the diary. Another thing that you can do is I'm going to go back to a previous day because I don't want to screw up my data. So another thing you can do is if you are doing, if you're using like a templates, you're eating the same thing every day, one of the things you can do is you can go to copy current day, maybe jump forward on a empty day in the future. I can go paste. I'm going to get all the items that I plan on eating for the day based on what was in that previous day. But then there's this clear amounts option here. So what you can do with that is you can select it, I'm gonna hit OK, and you'll notice that all of these items, the amounts in all of these items are now zeroed out. So instead of having all your nutrition information filled out for you ahead of time, you can actually zero this stuff out. And as you go through the day, maybe you're changing things up a little bit, maybe you're eating less or a little more. And obviously if you're measuring things like your weight or your blood glucose or other things like that, you can just enter the new data in as you go. And so it's just a great way to kind of just create a template and to have it quickly reset every day for you. So we have a couple questions here. So how do I change the name of a recipe? It's a basic recipe that I change up. Yeah, so one of the things you can do is if we go to foods, and we are on the recipe editor here. So let's see, I have new recipe 6. Now I want to do something that I know I've logged before. Okay, let's see, avocado fritters, right? So now I have the recipe open here in the editor. I can just add something to the name. Yeah, let's just go avocado fritters 2. Now, what's gonna happen next depends on if you've logged this recipe to your diary previously. So I think I've logged this one previously. So yeah, so what happens is this item is used in a recipe. It's letting me know that if I change this, it may have an effect on the other recipes. So what we allow you to do here is we can update past entries with the new name or any ingredient changes or anything that you put in here, or we can just leave it the same. So you basically have a choice of whether or not to affect prior diary entries, prior recipes that you've used, and you can basically control how to do that, or how much you want to change your items in the past based on things you do in the future. So I'm just going to hit cancel here, but Susie, that is how you would change the recipe. It will ask you if you've changed the title. Yeah, it will kind of ask you if you want to change all the items in the past. For you, if you're just changing the title, it probably won't matter that much. But if you were changing ingredients and things like that, you may want to either save a copy or hit yes or no on that dialogue. Yeah, and then Ron, I take a daily vitamin and fish oil. Can these be entered via an automatic reoccurring entry? So we are building that exact feature, Ron. We don't have it specifically yet, but something I'm going to show you guys in just a little bit. Basically, creating meal plans and things like that can help just reduce the effort that you have to take every day when you're logging your food. So we'll get to that, and we will cover that stuff. And Ron, hopefully we have that out fairly, or well, let's say by the end of the year, but we'll see. Joyce, oh yeah, no, you're right, Joyce. I've just got into some questions. I'm going to show you how to do everything I just showed you on the laptop on the mobile app in just a minute. And I've entered my supplements. Is there a way to track my nutrients without supplements to see if I'm getting enough nutrients from food only? There is, Susie, and that's going to be later in our reporting, in some of our reporting features, and I will get to that later on in the presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and just to reiterate and there's one more feature here on the diary that I want to show you guys. And it's a really cool feature. It leads into some of the meal planning that I'm going to be talking about later too. So here we are on a day where I have not hit all of my macros. I still have plenty of calories to eat. I obviously have tons of micros that I haven't hit my targets for. And what I can do is I can click on this suggest food button here. And what this will do is actually look at all of those things, my macros, my micros, and all the targets that I need to hit for the day. And it will compile a list of foods from our database that will best get you to hit those targets. So this is great if you want to try to plan out your diet. And so you can see here, for example, zoom in a minute. So here's one of our recipes. You've got, this will give you 22% of your total nutrition that you need for the day in this amount. So it's 1 cup, and most of it's fat, some of it's protein, and you can see how many carbs are in it. It'll also give you some of the top nutrients that are present in this food. So you can like the food or you can dislike the food and it'll never appear again. You can just cycle through a bunch of suggestions by clicking the X button. You can even set different restrictions here. So I can do any food in the database. I can restrict it to vegetarian foods. I can restrict it to vegan foods. I can also eliminate or exclude things like seafood, nuts, dairy, common allergens, or supplements, or the custom recipes that you've created too. So what I find, sometimes I'm not necessarily going to have what we got, tikka masala in my fridge, so what I generally use this for is a planning tool. So if I am looking at what I might want to eat over the next week in my meal planning, I can see that, maybe I'm not getting all the nutrients that I want with what I have planned already. I can hop on here and see what foods I can go and, maybe grab from the grocery store that are really going to help me, fill out my nutrition scores for the day. And so, yeah, so this is a great feature. I highly recommend checking it out if you guys are ever curious what to eat, and if you're looking for something based on what you've already eaten for the day. So now we're going to hop over to the mobile app. And geez, I went through a long list here. I'm just going to make sure I can remember it all. Let's see. So on the widgets here, you can see your information up top, and on the very last widget that we have, if you have fasting enabled, you'll be able to see your progress through your fast by swiping all the way over there. You'll notice on the diary groups here, you can set those up just like you can on the web. I'll show you how to get to that in a sec. You can actually expand and collapse the diary groups on the mobile app. You'll also notice there are these plus buttons or plus icons next to a group. I can tap that and I'll be able to quickly add food to that group specifically. So you can see that right there. And for those of you wondering, you can see how I checked all these foods and just added them to my list or added them to my diary very quickly. If you're curious, there's an icon up here you can tap when you're on the search screen, and you just want to enable this multi-add feature here. It's really handy for quickly logging food to your diary. So discard that. So now what I can do, I have a couple options here. I want to show you that create recipe from selected foods. So we have a couple options. One is to click on or tap on this 3-dot menu. You can select multi-select. Now I can go and I can select all the items that I want to add to a recipe. Then I tap on this 3-dot menu again, and I say create recipe from selection. And then I'm going to be brought to the recipe editor with all those items added as ingredients. Now I can also do it another way. Just get out of here, multi-select mode. I can also swipe to the right on a diary group. And this will reveal a little button I can tap that will give me an option for actions that I can perform on all the items in that group. And again, you have your create recipe from group. So you can use all the items in a group. Okay. Let's see what else we got. So we have add biometrics. So I don't believe, let me see. Yeah, so this is actually not released yet. So I'm on a build that we haven't released to the public yet, but you can, or you will be very soon, be able to create a custom biometric on the mobile app. You can't do that just yet. So this is only available on the web for now. It should be in just a couple of weeks that this feature will be available on the mobile app too. But I happen to have the dev build installed. So you can do that there. On the notes feature, you can tap add note, and you'll have that camera icon right here, and that will allow you to not only upload a photo from your files, but you can also take a picture directly with your camera. Pretty standard stuff there. You'll notice also here we have your diary group that you can select to log the item to, or you can choose the time as well for that item. Okay. Then let's see what else we got. We also have the, we don't have, oh yeah, so nutrition scores you'll notice are not on the mobile app yet. They're on their way. They're another thing that we're going to be releasing pretty soon on the mobile app. Let's see. How do I remove items? Yeah. So, oh yeah. So how do you remove items from your diary? Very simple. So all you have to do on the mobile app is to swipe to the right, or sorry, left, your other left. And then you can also swipe to the right on an item to reveal a more options menu. You can delete that here. To edit a quantity, all you have to do is just tap the item and you can enter the new amount there. On the web app, that's very simple. You have your amount column here, your unit column. So to change the amount, all you do is click on the number, and I can edit that here. If you wanted to edit the unit, which is, the serving size, you can click on that. You'll be able to choose a new serving size, and we'll convert the current amount to the new unit. So you can see 3 slices went to 0.85 ounces. And then if you wanted to delete an item on the web app, it's just a matter of right-clicking it and select delete item. There you go. So what else? Oh, and on the mobile app, suggest food is right here. We can tap that and see what we get. Oh, I don't have my recipes enabled here. No. So now you can see we have one suggestion at a time just because of UI constraints here. We've got a number of different things we can choose here. Again, you can just X them out and cycle through them if you want. You can add it to the diary in the amount stated, or you can like or dislike the food items. Now, you can come up here to the 3-dot menu to tap on that, and you'll get your list of exclusions if you want. And you can also choose which diet type you want to have food suggested from. So obviously, if you have those restrictions, you can enable them. Cool. What else we got? Oh, and just to show you where you're going to want to look for some of that extra information. So if you're on any one of these widgets up top here, all you have to do is tap, and you're going to get more information. So I tapped starch, I think, so you can see some things here. I can tap on daily report. We're going to get to that, basically what is the equivalent of this entire area down here is going to show up on your screen on the mobile app. So I can scroll down at the very bottom. Sorry, a little vertigo there. You can see our nutrient ratios that I described earlier. Okay. So that is, I think that's everything. That's how you access the various features, the various gold features on the mobile app. So we've got a few questions here. Susie, I'll answer that one. How do I remove items from the diary and change quantities? I just covered that. How to enable fast on the iPhone. Yeah, so I will, Joyce, I will get to that in just a bit. So the next thing that I want to show you guys is how to use the recipe editor to create basically daily meal plans. And Ron, your question earlier about logging things repeatedly, this should help with this. It's not going to be just an automated thing yet. That is a feature we're working on, but we'll jump over to the web page or the web app, and we're going to look at custom recipes here. So I'm going to revert those changes. So here we have, so I've already selected an avocado fritter, which is one of the recipes that I've created prior. I have my ingredients here. I have my serving sizes here. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail with regard to the recipe editor. That's something that I cover in the basics webinar. If you guys are interested in coming to our basics webinar, where we cover, what are the very basics of using Cronometer, searching food, getting good data, and just all the basic features that we offer, I will post the link up in the chat in a little bit, so you can join us for that. We do that every week, just like this one, every week on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So once we have a recipe here that's made from items in our database, I can actually go and I can create a whole meal out of other custom recipes. So for example, here I have chicken salad, I have and 2 other ingredients, and now I've created what is essentially a whole lunch from other recipes and food items. I can then take that lunch and go to meal plan day 1, and I can put each of those individual I can jump into and I can add the meals themselves, so the dinner, the lunch, the breakfast, and then I will have an entire meal plan for that I can use for a single day. So instead of, this is the trick, instead of having to log every single thing every single day, you now only have to log a single item and break it out to its parts to see what you're eating for the day. So I'll show you guys what I mean by that. If I go to the diary page here, I'll go to an empty day, I'll search some food, and I'll type in meal plan. So I have my meal plans show up here, my custom foods. So I'll go ahead and hit meal plan day 1. I'll add that to the diary, and you can see here that all my nutrition information is filled out for the day, but it's not clear what I'm eating. So if I right click on this item here, I can go to explode recipe. So if I click that, it's going to break up all of the ingredients. It's going to break the recipe up into all of its ingredients, which are just other recipes at this stage. So then I can move my items to each of the respective areas in my groups. Now you'll notice, Ron, this is for you here. Whatever daily supplements you take every day can be grouped into a single entry. And then you can enter those things every day with just a single click. And if you wanted to go as far as creating your own meal plans, you could add them here as well. So then what would happen, I'll just throw that under exercise, you can just right click and explode each of these individual things, and you'll see exactly what you're eating for the day. And then you'll have that information. And again, you can clear those amounts, re-enter them as you go for the day, and there you go. So on the mobile app, it's pretty straightforward. You can jump over to the foods and you can go to create recipe. So we have expandable and collapsible recipe lists here. So if you tap create recipe, you can enter a name here and you can enter ingredients. I mean, that's just as simple as, it's just the same as searching food. And then once you go through the whole process, you can roll those things up into full-on meal plans and log them from your iPhone. Cool. Okay, so then let's see. I've entered supplements. Yeah, so fast. Okay, cool. So then, well, where are we now? So that is what I want to show you with the recipe editor. Let's jump to the trends tab. So we have several tabs here. Most of them are gold features here. What we're going to look at first, though, is the data analysis tools that you have on the charts. So I'm going to jump into manage charts here. So as a gold user, so on a free account, you only have access to these first two charts here, calories consumed and single metric. So you can, when you're a gold user, you can actually enable all these charts that are built in to the app. And you can then, they'll all get displayed down there. I'll show you what they look like. I'll explain some of them. But you can also create custom charts. So if they're like, earlier we talked about custom biometrics, like if you're tracking, maybe it's a pain scale or something like that, you can then graph that value over time against things like, your different nutrients that you have. So for example, if you're not getting enough potassium, maybe that's causing some of the pain. You can actually see that on the chart, how those things correlate and relate to each other. So the way that would work is if you add a custom chart, you can add two different axes. It could be a biometric, a nutrient, or a score. So we'll just set this to nutrient. So I can track my weight or any of the metrics that we have data for against any of the nutrients that we track. Obviously, that's a very long list. And then you can save that chart, and then you'll be able to visualize it over here. I'll show you what that looks like. So if we go back to the charts, we have first our calories consumed chart, which just shows you a breakdown of the total calories you've eaten for the day. And you can also see how accountable you've been in terms of logging your food too, because you can see there's a number of empty days here towards the end. And you can filter those out. You can set it to non-empty days, maybe. Yeah, you can see that looks a little more full and everything, but there's still some days where I just didn't log that much. So you can also use a flag that we have on the diary page called completed days. So just back on the diary, up here in the three-dot menu, you can mark a day as complete. And this is just a way to flag a day for whatever reason you want, really, but generally it's used as, hey, this was a great day of eating. I followed my program. I did everything that I was supposed to do here. So this is a good representative sample of my eating. And so then you can filter on those completed days in your chart. And as a gold user, you get all kinds of different time frames, much longer ones. You can set custom ranges as well. So if we scroll down here, we can also take a look at the weight. Oh, the height doesn't really change very much. You can look at your weight. Oh, that's a weird little entry. I'll deal with that. And then you can look at your individual nutrients, and you can see what their target areas are looking like, how often you're in them, and not. And likewise, in the I'll just discard that. And likewise, with the scores that I showed you earlier, your immune support, bone health, etc., you can track how well you've been doing with that score over time. Glucose ketone index is a chart that we have specifically for the therapeutic use of a ketogenic diet. And here are some of the custom charts that I built using our app. So you can actually come in here and you can see how these things might relate to each other as they change over time. And there you go. The other thing I'll mention here, and I think I said it earlier, let's do it on this one. I've had almost constant fast running on this account here. So if I show fasting periods, you'll be able to see visually the darkened areas are the times that you're actually fasting. And so this is a great way to see how your fasts might be impacting, various aspects of your health and your diet. Excuse me. And so let's see. So that is the fasting thing. We will get how to turn on. We will get to how to turn on fast in just a little bit longer. So okay. So we've got I entered blood ketones and blood glucose. Is there a way to automatically calculate Dr. Boz ratio? So no, we don't automatically calculate that. You will have to calculate that separately, and then enter it in as a custom biometric. So that's generally how we recommend. As a matter of fact, I think I've demoed creating it a number of times already. It's one of my, let's see, custom biometrics down here. Yep, there's the Boz ratio. So yeah, you'll have to create a custom biometric and track it that way. Okay. Yeah, so Joyce, that is, so you can, if you have tracked your Dr. Boz ratio, you can come in here, you can select it from this list, and you'll be able to see that over time. I don't think I actually have tons of data for that, so I won't show you for the moment. So that's our charts feature. And like I said, all those charts that I've showed you beyond those first two are things, the different colors in the calories consumed chart, that just means the different macros. So red maps to fat, blue maps to carbohydrates, and green maps to protein. And if you mouse over this, it'll tell you what the totals are for each of those things there. And I believe down in our custom, I'm not sure exactly what you were asking with regard to colors, but we just kind of arbitrarily choose different colors for the various custom charts and things like that. Visually impaired. Good to know. I don't believe we allow you to change the colors at the moment, but I will make sure that we get something in there to deal with, or it's making sure that they're workable for the visually impaired. I appreciate that that feedback there. And we have some in the chat here too. So what are we talking about? Adding isolated? I have good data from Harvard and University. Ian, I think, are you talking about adding items to our database or items to our data to your personal account? If you can clarify, just let me know. But if you have actual data you want to add to our database, I would suggest emailing either me or support@cronometer.com and let us know, because we could always work on getting that. Okay, yeah, so to the database. I would say email support, let them know you were in the webinar and you suggested that to me. We can talk about how we might get that added and see if it's feasible. So yeah, email support@cronometer.com, and yeah, we can see what we can do. Okay, so that was charts. Now let's look at nutrition report. So the nutrition report is going to look a lot like your, almost forgot. I just want to show you charts real quick on the mobile app, because we do show all of our charts on the mobile app. Here you can see all the charts that we were just looking at. They look very similar here. So what's really cool though, is I can tap on this chart, have all the options to edit and all the ranges and all that at the bottom. But if I turn the device to the side, I'll get a nice landscape view of the chart, so it's not all kind of scrunched and jumbled there. So if you want to review this data on the mobile app, you actually can. But yeah, so you can just kind of tap on the various areas. You can see what the various measurements look like, all that. Very good stuff. So just X out of that and you'll get back to the main screen. Okay. Then you have your nutrition report. Let's switch over that on the mobile app too. So your nutrition report is basically, it looks a lot like what you see every day on the diary screen. All your nutritional averages, your ratios, and all that. But what it shows you here is going to be over a much longer time frame. So these numbers here, these these are nutritional averages for how you've eaten over that time frame that you've selected. And as a gold user, you get those longer time frames. And Susie, to your question, with regard to seeing how supplements might be affecting your diet, we have a flag here called Include Supplements. And what you can do with that is if you uncheck it, I don't think I have a ton of supplements in this account, but let's see. Not really. So yeah, so you can see if you had it, if you've been using a lot of supplements over time, basically what it'll do is any supplement, any item that's flagged as a supplement will be removed from these totals over the time frame selected. And what that'll mean, or what that'll do, is it will show you just how much calories and macros and micros you're getting from food rather than supplements. And oh, hi, you want to come up? Come on. Yeah. We have a little visitor. So anyway, so that is nutrition report. And to get to there on the mobile app, as you can see, you just go to the charts or the trends tab and you can switch over to the nutrition report by tapping the button up here. Heading out. Okay, say bye. Okay, well, she waved. Okay, so yeah. All right, so now we can move on to print report. Let's see, ORAC values. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, so and as more data comes out on ORAC values, that is one of the things that we're actually looking at incorporating into our data. So I think we have some, but I don't know if it's public yet. Though we have a lot of projects in the background on that we're always working on in terms of our data and data quality. So, but I'll have to check to see where that is. I know we just updated the USDA database with tons of new data, and we haven't necessarily enabled the display of it yet, but there's a lot of good stuff in there that we're going to be coming out with. But we also really have to balance that out with coverage, right? We don't want to offer like the ORAC values of your food, but not have great coverage of those foods as well, and be limited to very, very few foods, because that can be frustrating to say the least, because it may show, you may think that you're not actually getting that ORAC values from your food, whereas it just may be that there isn't a great amount of coverage for that particular set of data. So anyway, right, so print report. This is a great way. So we can take any piece of data, any set of data in the app that you have logged to your account, and we can basically we can generate a report, like a PDF report that you can use to either share with your loved ones or a medical professional that might want to know about your nutrition. And you can essentially come in here, customize the report, and select the time frame. And well, I'll show you what it looks like. I just have added stuff from just about every category, so you can see what that looks like. So I'll hit print report. Right, so we've got about a week's worth of data on this report. And you can see we start out with the nutrition report that we just looked at. You've got all your data here, the nutritional averages over the selected time frame. Then you have any chart that you've chosen to include for that selected time frame. And then down below, we get into the individual daily food log and nutrition summary for those days. So if this is a week's worth of data, so you'll see a week's worth of food logs and nutritional data. And so you can then print this report to a PDF. You can send it via email. Yeah, it's very useful for keeping records and sharing that with people who may not be using Cronometer. the snapshots section here, let's see. So the snapshots section here is another area where you can, great question, Michael. Yeah, so the snapshot section here is where you can actually upload images. We built this for progress photos, you know, if you're making progress through a program, but it can be used for pretty much anything, any kind of any kind of image storage you like, you can do that here. So yeah, we had a couple questions about, let me see. So export data CSV, yes. So that's a great one. So there's a couple ways to do that. So on the trends tab, if we go to charts, so let's say I want to look at some data next to each other. So here's one of my custom charts. I can go click on this three-dot menu. I can export this data, this time series data, time-stamped data, to a CSV or a spreadsheet, and then you can do further, you know, statistical analysis on that if you want, or you can use it however. So that's one way to export data. The other way is if you go to Settings, Account, scroll down to the bottom here, you can use this Export Data setting, and then you can select any time frame and you can export individual, you know, well, you can see here what you can export, but I'll show you how detailed this gets. So I just exported my servings to the to a CSV. Let me scroll this over here. You can see now, here's all of my servings over the past couple of weeks, along with all of the nutrition data. So very powerful. You can see all your nutrition data in detail here. Excuse me. So that's how you would get to all the data and export it from your account. Okay, and then Colleen. All right, so I noticed the keto and co brownies from your database does not match the packaging. Do you update these from time to time? Yeah, so in terms of updating the databases, so the way we do this, generally speaking, is we will keep up to date with the actual databases as they're putting out new things. But for probably a user submitted item like that, oftentimes formulations change, and oftentimes you can even have multiple formulations on the shelves. So we don't necessarily want to lose the old information when we import the new information. But what would happen, so we'll take pita bread whole wheat here. So let me view, edit, selected food. So one of the things you can do, so now we're looking at those food details for anything, so we can pretend it's the Keto and Co Brown Company. So if you click this three-dot menu, we have this report an issue option here. So what you can do is you can tell us the issue about the food, upload a photo of the packaging. So like you said, the numbers may not match. And so then what that will do, it'll send that information to our curation team. They can check it and see what's going on. Maybe they'll talk to the manufacturer, see if there's, you know, different formulations going on. And then they can update that in the database. And so, yeah, that's generally how we do it for store-bought items. And we deal with tons of requests every day. And on the web, that's the same. You can just go to this on any item screen here. You can tap on this three-dot menu, and you'll have your report an issue option down here. So it's very, I mean, in general, it's very hard to keep up with all the products that are being released every year, which is, you know, that's just the way it is. So we do rely somewhat on our audience to tell us when we've gotten something wrong, but we are constantly looking for those errors and correcting them in our database via our curation team. Cool, so got that and that. So the next feature that I want to show you guys is going to be, hey, all right, fasting. So Joyce, this is for this earlier question of yours. How do you enable fasting? So on the web, we go to the settings fasting tab, and you can enable fasting here. That'll get that widget to show up in the diary. And then you can schedule a new fast here. On mobile, you just scroll down, you go to the settings tab, you scroll down to targets, and there's a fasting entry here. And you can turn that on, same deal. And you can create a new fast. And you'll be able to set a duration. You can set a start and end time. You can set it to how often you want it to repeat. So you can set it to repeat daily. You can set it to repeat every week or every couple weeks. You have a lot of options there. And then once you have a fast going, it'll show up in your scheduled fasts. It'll show up in current fast if it's running. And then, yeah, and then you can, track it that way. And then below, we're going to save a history of all your daily fasts. And you can go and edit those things. You can delete the fast or whatever using the 3-dot menus here. Same deal on the fasting history. You just edit the fast. We also, on the mobile, we just added some fasting stats. So you can see how many you've completed, how many hours you've fasted, all the kind of interesting metrics that you might want to track. So that is fasting. Let's see. We got a question. How do we change macronutrient targets on mobile? I want to highlight sodium and calcium. Oh, yes, no problem. So one of the things you can do on nutrient targets on mobile, you can scroll down and you have your highlighted nutrient targets here. You can come in, and these are going to correspond, I'll just show you on web, to these gauges up here, these highlighted nutrient targets. So if you're interested in sodium and calcium, you can just highlight that. You can set the ones here that you want, and they'll appear on the web or in the widget as well on the, I'll show you, on the diary. So here are my highlighted nutrient targets. You can see the ones you want without having to jump into that nutrition report. So that's how you would do it. All right, what else we got? We've got a few more settings I want to cover here. Let's see. So devices. So this isn't, I don't think there are any gold integrations yet, but gold specific ones. But these are all the devices that we integrate with. We're always adding more, and so definitely connect your devices if you have one. Now, what's interesting here is we have a sharing feature that you guys may not know about. If you want, let's say you have a whole bunch of custom recipes, maybe you have a family that you need to coordinate your eating with, and you want to, make sure that everybody's on the same page. Instead of having, and maybe they all have Cronometer accounts, instead of having to create those recipes 3 times over, 3-4 times over for each item or for each person that has an account, you can actually use our sharing feature to share all your custom recipes with other people who are using Cronometer. So what you can do, excuse me, is you can add a friend. Just all you need is the email address of that they use for their Cronometer account. So you send them a friend request, and if they accept it, then they will have access to all your custom recipes. You'll have access to all of theirs, and then you can essentially search it like you would any other food, and then you can, you can coordinate or hold each other accountable and things like that. So we're just about out of time here, guys. One more thing I want to show you. We have a help tab here, just in case you have any other questions. You can check out our YouTube channel. This is where our replays will be. You can check that out here. Find a professional. This is where we show all the professionals that use our app. We've got about, I think, 300 to 400 people in here that are using Cronometer that are also listed on here. It's optional to list your business up here, but you can see what their specialties are. What they're a little bit about their history, their biography, contact info, all that kind of stuff. And you can come in and you can find someone who can give you some personalized advice if you want. And then, yeah, just back on this help tab, we have a blog. We have our user manual, which is all this stuff that I'm telling you, but in text form. And then we have forums. So we have a really vibrant community forum. We have some users that have been with us for a very long time. They know the product inside and out. And yeah, so hopefully you can get some answers from there too. So I see we're just about out of time, guys. There's going to be a survey towards the end. Really appreciate your time. Thank you guys so much. And I hope you guys found this informative. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you guys so much.